penimbunan at adalas.
President Reagan signed into law a bill today creating a national holiday honoring Martin Luther King. ABC's Sam Donaldson was at the White House.
The White House staged an impressive ceremony today, the President and Dr. King's widow walking into the Rose Garden together in an effort to spruce up Mr. Reagan's tattered civil rights image. The President signed the bill, which he had so strongly opposed, making Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a national holiday. And he delivered remarks before some 200 invited guests, which, while not quite calling Dr. King a great American, were designed to honor him.
In 1968, Martin Luther King was gunned down by a brutal assassin. His life cut short at the age of 39. But those 39 short years had changed America forever. The conscience of America had been touched. Across the land, people had begun to treat each other not as blacks and whites, but as fellow Americans. And in his words, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
As the president left, the audience broke into "We Shall Overcome," singing the anthem of the civil rights movement as Mr. Reagan shook hands on his way out. When it was over, Mrs. King said it had been a great day, and the president's words were fitting. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's running for president, said it was not a day for him to criticize anyone. And Senator Kennedy said he hoped it marked a new beginning for Mr. Reagan on civil rights. Tomorrow, Senator Kennedy will resume his battle with Mr. Reagan over the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, and Reverend Jackson will resume his criticism of Mr. Reagan as he formally announces for the presidency. But today, for a moment, present battles were laid aside, as both sides remembered the past battles and the man who had fought them so well. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
Welcome. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. There's a lot of things in that short video, Niele.
Yeah, good morning, peace and love. Like Stacy said, I'm Niele, and we want to welcome you in. We have a lot of headlines to get through, and some of them relative, Stacy, to the work of Dr. King. But on that day in 1983, like you said, it was a lot, and it was a lot to even make that holiday happen. And one person I'm thinking of in particular is Stevie Wonder.
Well, of course, he was among the leaders who made sure that happened. But Ronald Reagan reluctantly, let's make no mistake, reluctantly went along with Congress and signed that bill. And he's saying that it changes America forever. As we live and breathe, we know that if that was the purpose, it did not happen. It certainly not forever, because here we are. We're right back to square one.
Yeah, but on a day like this, you could either look at the glass half empty or you could look at it half full. And from that day, we've had many successes. We've had a Black president. The Congressional Black Caucus has grown. You've seen Black leadership across this country on state and local levels. You've seen many organizations all across this country, whether it is like protecting Black women and maternity care, gang intervention and prevention programs. All of those are rooted in the civil rights movement that Dr. King led. And I think it's important and critical that we stay focused on the progression instead of the state of this nation. Just on today.
Well, you issue a tall task, but okay. If you, folks, here we are as we talk about that. Paratroopers are being deployed in Minneapolis as, of course, the president is about to declare martial law. He wrote this crazy letter to Denmark, the president or leader of Denmark, in which he says that, and he starts out by saying, because they didn't give him the Nobel Prize. You had to make sure, at least I did, when I read this, that I wasn't reading AI. And certainly the White House confirmed, yes, he wrote that letter. And he goes on to say that land, Greenland, belongs to us. In fact, he says, our boats, this is a quote from his letter, our boats were there first. And, and so he got his sights set on Greenland. He's got his sights set on Iran. But here at home, he has his sights on U.S. citizens, and he's really starting with Minneapolis, sending U.S. paratroopers into Minneapolis.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the activists on the ground in Minneapolis, fighting for the same struggle and rights that Dr. King did and the civil rights movement did, especially thinking of Georgia Fort, who we've had on the show, and Nikema Levy, who yesterday, Stacy, went into a church boldly and resisted and called out a pastor of a church that is a director in ICE. And Nakima, I mean, she had the bullhorn and she was like, how can you preach love in Christ when a woman is dead, a Venezuelan has been shot, and a 6-month-old child has died? Don Lemon, journalism during the Civil Rights Act, journalists were important as well because they were ridiculed and abused. And Don Lemon was there. And then you hear the White House saying they might, investigate and possibly prosecute those activists, and even Don Lemon. Don Lemon went on last night. So I think when we talk about this, we have to remember who's on the front line for Black folks and for people of color, and give them as much support and upliftment as possible. So, just shout out and Toussaint Morrison. He's been on the ground reporting. So many people who keep this story alive because we know the media is trying to oppress what's happening in Minneapolis. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to them.
Well, that's I saw Don Lemon's reporting, and yeah, he is certainly, like you said, he's on the front line, which puts him on the firing line, and it's unfortunate, but Nakima's, we've spoken to you, brought her on quite a few times, and we'll bring her on again, I'm sure, and we know what she's doing, and here's, I guess we don't want to go into what they're not doing and what Congress is not doing is, I guess, the theme today. So I won't even go there.
I mean, no, I think that the truth is the truth, but like I say, it just depends on if you want to focus on the glass being half empty or being half full. And today, I think, is that day to uplift and talk about what's going right, because there's so much going wrong. But the chat, I hear a wow, a wow. Orange G says, Happy King Day, Orange G. And make sure you don't let mayonnaise people define Dr. King's legacy to you. That's what I'm talking about. Sandra Brown Jones, she says, good morning. And, hopefully this conversation is doing something in that chat bot or, human brain of Big Cheese. All right. So as we talk about Dr. King, the annual concert celebrating the life of Martin Luther King Jr. I forgot the doctor. Thank God we don't have to use such long titles anymore. But remember, he was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So speaking of Dr. King, a concert that was set to celebrate him today at the Kennedy Center, a tradition that has happened for 2 decades, has been moved. And they moved it to DC's Howard Theater. Now, Mark Joseph, the Kennedy Center's former artistic director, expressed support for the move, noting that Dr. King's mission does not align with the current administration.
That's an understatement. It doesn't align.
It doesn't.
I mean, it couldn't be more opposite, right? But moving it to the Howard Theater, obviously it was the right thing to do. Nobody wants to go to that former Kennedy Center, so everybody's pulled out of it except for 1 or 2 MAGA performers who want that spotlight and to be viewed by 5 people in the audience. So
right.
This guy has destroyed what was really such a grand place for so many, and to have this event. Listen, I ain't mad at them for having this event at the Howard Theater. That to me, it should stay there.
Right. And when you think of today and how on this day, federal parks, national parks were open on certain holidays, and Dr. King's holiday was one. And Trump took that away and gave it to all, white, former, leaders of this country that were, disrespectful and racist towards Black folks. And so there was probably no other move for them to make, in this situation. And they made the right one.
Orange, he says, the president, he says Trump will have his Black MAGA people perform for his own King celebration. He says, picture Herschel Walker as the MC.
I mean,
Wow.
do you think though? Do you think they care anymore now? You know what I'm saying? Do you think that they
Mm-mm.
will even honor him in the White House now? I don't even
Yeah,
think that'll happen. If it does,
yeah,
I'll be surprised.
yeah, and the fact that your question about whether they care, they have long stopped caring about optics. They've stopped doing the dog whistle thing, and they're just
Mhm.
outright, they're out with it. It's nothing for them to be afraid
Look,
of
they
or
might as
whatever.
well take the hood off. Just take it off. It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I think the hood came off a while ago, though. That's the problem.
Well, not for
But
ice. Not for ice.
well, yeah, well, they still masked up, right? They still hooded up.
And
Um,
don't forget, we don't know who's going in and out of that White House. So it is probably a lot of hoods. Because some of the most richest and prestigious clan, they are in the shadows and they prefer it that way. So I believe it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, well, and they listen. They have been coming out of the shadows too. You see, like people like Bill Ackman and others giving all this money to that ICE agent who killed the young lady.
A hundred,
What's
yeah.
over $1 million now that he's gotten in his GoFundMe account.
Mike V says the red hat is the hood, Niele. Yep, that's a form of it. The khakis. Remember they
Yeah,
were in khakis and tiki torches too,
tiki torches. Wow. Nancy Wall says people still have the day off, so he can't stop everything like he thinks he can. She says.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Here's something that is really aggravating to me, Niele. This story out of Florida. This young lady, Ty Henson, and she was set to marry her fiance this coming May, William Coney, at the Crystal
Mhm.
Ballroom in Lake Mary, Florida. It's an all-inclusive event space. It was chosen to host the extensive guest list. However, the wedding plans unfortunately, tragically ended on Thanksgiving when William Coney unexpectedly died of a heart attack at the age of 42. She told the venue what happened, and they refused to refund her $7,600 deposit, saying that she signed a contract as if she could carry out the contract. Neil.
Yeah, that's sad, but those are the type of things where you do have to read the contract. I hate to hear that happen to her, but to anybody out there that's getting married or planning to get married, you know, the devil's in the detail and the devil's in the contract. And if she signed a contract that had that or didn't negotiate, then those types of things happen all the time. It's like buying a plane ticket. And if you don't buy the insurance or, pay for the higher ticket to change the date, you're stuck with the ticket.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she went into it not ever expecting to have a
Of
refund,
course.
to seek a
Of
refund, and
course.
as you say, the fine print. Um, you know, I would imagine she probably thought that the humanity that people would understand. He died. I mean, her fiance died. He
Mhm.
kicked the bucket. He punched out. He's gone. It's like, where is the empathy? You had time from Thanksgiving. People are still planning spring and summer. In fact, spring and summer is the season to get married for most people, and venues are packed, and they're filled. People are looking for spots. So it's not like they can't get somebody else to fill that spot. But that's the business they do. You're right about the contract. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that the publicity that this is now starting to get, it's going to hurt them. So that $7,600
In
they made.
Florida, and a black person, I doubt it.
Well, it'll make a person think twice, though. I don't black, white,
Or
or
it'll
whatever.
hopefully it makes people read their contract.
That too. That
Yeah,
too.
hopefully it make and if she can't get her refund, first off, prayers to her family, and everything she's going through. But if she can't get her refund, she might want to have a celebration of life, or what could have been celebration, and
I think
go
that's the
forth with
answer.
something.
Maybe that's the answer. Have a, I mean, I'm sure they buried him by now, but have a funeral right there at, you paid the money. Have a
Or
funeral. I
celebrate,
think they
no,
would
no,
like that.
a celebration of
Oh no,
life,
I get
you
that.
know.
I would have a funeral there just because I don't think they would like that. So, but you're right. I get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, also this morning, a state civil rights lawsuit filed this week accuses Clark County Township, New Jersey, and officials of directing police to discriminate against Black and other non-white motorists as part of a larger effort to keep them from living there, according
Mm.
to Attorney General Matthew Plack and the State Division on Civil Rights. Notice we said the State Division on Civil Rights. The complaint names former Mayor Salvatore Bonacorso and suspended police chief Pedro Matos. Niele, the audio recordings
Uh-oh.
of the mayor
Mm.
and the chief are
Mhm.
is so bad.
Uh-oh.
They
What are they talking about?
well, first of all, on a less heavier side first, which it's got, I shouldn't say less heavier side. He says the sheriff and the mayor, we don't want no women cops. He says they don't have no place being cops. They're weak. This is all on tape. But they also, the mayor's asked, why do you have these ropes in your office? His quote from the audio, he says, what do you think we're going to use to hang the spooks with? This is Clark Township, New Jersey, and they have been, they paid a $400,000 settlement to a whistleblower after those recordings aired. And now they are subject to a civil rights suit by the attorney general there because they are systemically denying Black people and brown people the ability to buy a house, the ability to rent a house. They don't want them there. And then anytime you drive through Clark Township, if you're Black or brown, it says that there is a high probability that you'll be stopped by the police.
Well, good thing that the good thing that the state attorney general is investigating this, because you're not going to get a federal investigation. Thank God it's the state. But these are the stories of Black folks in America, and it's tragic. And I wonder if can he bring charges against them?
So he can only, at this point, they've committed civil crimes. The police chief has been suspended.
Okay.
The mayor is no longer in office. He was voted out.
Okay.
But the problem still exists, apparently, with the stoppage. I think let me find that number again for you, because the traffic stops for Black motorists are about 4 times more than that of white drivers, and the stops of Hispanic motorists are 2.2 times more than white residents.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure ICE is on their way there if they're not already.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep.
Mike V says, I'm curious to know what newly elected Governor Mickey Sherrill has to say about this. Good question.
Be interesting. Exactly. I've not heard her comments and about this. I've not seen any comments yet from the governor on this. So we'll see.
Right. RNG says, if that lawsuit fails, I demand the gentrification, in all caps. People leave my Black neighborhood. All right. And on that note, let's talk about peace. Since we're celebrating Dr. King today and mixing it with news, in 1964, at the age of 35, Reverend Dr. King received the Nobel Peace Prize for his nonviolent approach to eradicate racism and Jim Crow, and of course to push for civil rights. And we know in 1964 we got that. So as we remember him today, let's talk about how the word peace is being used today. Now, the Trump administration is asking countries that want a permanent spot on his new board, a vision of a UN. He's calling it the Board of Peace. And he's wanting everybody to contribute $1 billion. Now, Trump has sent letters of invitation to various heads of government to join his new Board of Peace, and he will be the chairman of it, okay? Now, the charter, which has been circulated to around 60 countries, stipulates that member states will initially serve a 3-year term, renewable at the discretion of Trump. Now, the 3-year membership term shall not apply to members that contribute the $1 billion. So if you give $1 billion, you're a lifetime member. And the documents state this. Now, the organization is a back effort for the reconstruction of Gaza, which his son-in-law has negotiated to be the real estate firm to build all of the new houses.
Of course.
How about that for peace?
And you know, they say the devil is in the details, and among the many details here, the 3-year plan. What does that also tell you? What's the devil in the details there? The fact that the details is that this man truly does not plan to leave office in 2028.
Yeah, that part, Stacy. You know, that part. So that's he wants to create instead of the UN, the Board of Peace. And speaking of more peace, the Noble Foundation has released a statement after the Venezuela opposition leader, Maria Machado, symbolically gifted Trump her 2025 Nobel Prize. I don't know if you've seen it last week, and he was holding up the picture and just cheesing. Well, the Nobel Foundation responded, and they stated in part, a prize, therefore, cannot even symbolically be passed on or further distributed.
You know, they say the internet is undefeated. Somebody posted I guess it was AI generated photo of Milli Vanilli giving Trump their Grammy. I mean, this, you know, the obsession with this is off the charts, and it's just like he has to have these mementos simply because somebody black got it. And it's really sad. Here's a man who controls the world almost, basically, right? Here's a man who has untold wealth. You know, there's scriptures about people like this guy, untold wealth. And, you know, and still,
and he's so
extremely
greedy.
Unhappy.
He's so greedy. Like all of those white men, those tech people, Jared Kushner, his daddy, they are greedy. Why do you need that much wealth? My mother said to me yesterday, she said, oh, I saw Rihanna wants to have a baby. I said, yeah, she should have a tribe. She's a billionaire. Let's start building some generational wealth. That's where they got us wrong. You know, they thought they tricked us into being independent and, you know what I'm saying, not replenishing the earth like the good Lord said. Let Rihanna have a tribe, okay? Build that generational wealth. She's a billionaire. Who are you going to leave it to?
Yeah, listen.
They're greedy. They're greedy. Back to my point. They're greedy.
Yeah. It's greed. It's self-indulgence. I guess that's greed. But it's this idea that this man has everything, all the power, more power than any president in history, more assets than any president.
And you know why?
And he's not happy.
You know why? Because he took it. And I mean, that should be a lesson to all of us. Power is not given, it is taken by force. And the same way that they are doing it, you know, that is the scary and critical question that the opposition, you know, has to ask. You know, it's really not about power, it's about balancing it and shifting it in the right spaces. And so he took it. That's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, it really is. It's a lesson to be learned. Again, the perplexing thing to me is it's a lesson too, in that everyone talks about striving to be rich, right? And there's nothing wrong with wanting to have money,
Right.
but it tells you, well, the money is the root of all injurious things, right? Because you never get enough. People who get it seem like they never get enough, and then they will start. Many people, not all, will start doing things to hurt other people so that they can't get it, and create even another pot for themselves. And then you have, as Mike V points out, like I said, not all, because then you have the Mackenzie Scotts of the
Mhm.
world. He says she should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize. Look what she's doing with her money.
Right, right, right. And you brought up the Bible, and the Bible talks about, in Psalms and Ecclesiastics, to eat, drink, and be merry, for this is your lot in life. It talks about a day's work for a day's pay. And I think that's what we've gotten away from. Like, nobody is satisfied with a day's work for a day's pay, or to eat, drink, and be merry, for that is your lot in life. It's this concept of wanting more than what you have, and not being happy with just a roof over your head, a family, and a car. We've gotten away from that. And look at Dr. King. Like, he was back then, in those days, that's all they lived for, is to have a house. You know what I'm saying? A good city job, a good government job, a family. You know what I'm saying? And enough to eat every day. You know what
How
I'm
many?
saying?
How many?
And maybe a vacation, or maybe not. Just a good
Yeah,
Christmas. We've gotten
and you're
away from
right.
that.
How many of us, especially that came up in our era, heard from either our parents, our grandparents, aunts, uncles, uh, get yourself a good job. Just get yourself a good job, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't too much to ask. It wasn't too
No,
much to
just
ask.
get a good job. And trades were important too.
Trades. There you go.
Everybody didn't have to go to college, to be a painter, to paint houses, fix pipes, be a plumber. All of those were dignified jobs in our community.
Yep.
And
Yep.
somehow, I don't know if it was hip hop, I don't know what it was, but it changed the trajectory of what people imagined a life should be. And
Yeah.
we're all
You're right.
striving for this, when it was okay to just be normal.
Yeah, Mike Reese is like a street sweeper, sanitation worker. When I grew up, when I was a child and growing, we respected those people. The custodian in the school,
Right.
we had great respect for. They had good jobs with great benefits, and like you said, once a year, sometimes twice a year, they take their vacation, and they were,
To
and
Vegas.
that,
To Vegas. you know?
or or it'd be a staycation. You see them at home doing
Right.
work around the house, going
Or
fishing,
they
having a beer.
migrated. Right. They
Mhm.
migrated and they go back home. I mean, it's just it's everything is just out of order now. And
Yeah.
I think we would do ourselves, like, oh, I was going to say, even to the janitor in the school, that was always Mr. Such and such, and he could
Mhm.
chastise you too.
That's right.
Today,
That's right.
they disregard a janitor as somebody that is beneath them. I'm talking about even in the schoolhouse. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's just,
We
everything is upside down.
we call them janitors, but the political correct thing now is custodians.
It's custodians. Okay, we call it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We call them janitors, right?
Yeah.
See, and they didn't mind because
They
look,
didn't mind.
whatever.
But that was Mr. Brown or Mr. Johnson or Mr. Anderson.
Yeah,
That's who that was. Okay. And if
yeah,
he took that mop and put it in front of you, just please don't tell my parents. I won't do it
yeah.
again, Mr. Anderson.
Doctor
I won't.
Dr. Marilyn says they are taking good government jobs away. She says, I was taught to work for the feds, which I do because of retirement and health benefits. She says, I've raised my boys on government work. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And
And it,
it is sufficient. A day's work for a day's pay. Eat, drink, and be merry, for this is your lot in life. Those are scriptures that stuck with me, because it reminds you to, like, enjoy life, number one. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to enjoy life, But what you do, if it's with dignity, and it's of service, it's sufficient.
Yeah, and Mike V says the chase the bag culture and the boss chic culture ruined our values. A boss chick coach culture ruined our
Well, why does it I
values as
mean,
a
why is
community.
it okay, boss chick? I mean, I think, where's the male accountability?
Well, I think that I think it's wrapped in there. I don't think he's singling out women. He's singling out the fact that there are
Oh, the
many
bad culture
chase
must
that,
be the dudes. The
right?
bad culture is the dudes, and the boss chick
Chase the
culture ruined.
bag, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
I get it. Yeah, and I agree with that. I totally agree, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, here's the bottom line. My bottom line, anyway, is like I said, is don't you got yours. Don't stop somebody else from getting theirs. That's the bottom line. And don't be mad because be happy that you got yours. Be happy that the next person can get theirs. And we have a leadership in this country who is trying to take it from everybody and don't want anybody else to have anything from no matter no matter his skin color, no matter his age, no matter what, they don't want you to have. They want you. It appears the overall mission here is to make you grovel and come to the government for whatever you might need.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's they've done a doozy on us. And we talk about all of the federal jobs that have been lost. I'm thinking about this content creator culture. And when what's his name, Larry Ellison, who bought TikTok, and the Rupert Murdochs, when they take over, it might eventually, by the end of the year, it might not be the same TikTok, right?
Right.
And all of these people have built, have left their jobs. Some people, to be these content creators. What happens if they attack the grid and you can't do that for 2-3 months? I mean, they have really sold us. Remember how we say wolf tickets? They sold us a bag of wolf tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at what's happening to hip hop. Look at what's happening to the hip hop game, and how you have to have, I think it was Scarface that was talking about it. Like, it doesn't even make sense to put music out now, because you have to make 1 million streams to like even get, like, I don't know what the number was, but it wasn't even $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And so the way that they've changed the game in music, it's hard for you to even become, you could be popular on social media, but you're not getting the bag like they used to.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you talk about hip hop. I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey now, and last night we went to the All Stars of Hip Hop concert, and you mentioned hip hop might be the cause of whatever. Not the hip hop we grew up on. And last night was proof of that for me personally. I had never at a event like that have so much fun, not just because of the artists. I mean, there was Schoolie D. People might remember Schoolie D. There was the Sugar Hill Gang and the Furious Five, who Melly Mel is like the originator for a lot of us. He's the one that we really look up to. And then there was Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick and the whole Chill Will, Barry B, the whole Get Fresh crew, and they had the best set. Chuck might be watching, but Chuck, they had the best set. And Flavor Flav and Chuck and Public Enemy, and not just that, Niele. So it was probably, by my estimation, 7,000 to 8,000 people in the arena, and everybody, black, white, all ages. We saw white folks, young. We saw white folks old. In fact, we walked from the hotel with this white couple who wound up backstage taking pictures with Flavor Flav. They had such a good time. We were sitting around these white folks I was teasing the man, because it must have been a family. It was his wife, I assume, and daughters, right? And they danced and stuff. And I said, man, you better at least two-step. Right. but and everybody you talk to, and they were just so into it and so loose and happy, and there was no angriness or anger or anything. It was just an atmosphere that it was like, wow, wow.
Yeah. Well, I know that that's how hip hop artists pretty much make their money now. If you want to really maintain, you want to go on tour. And so it's good, you know,
Yeah,
because
that's
it
last night.
shows that it's generational. It's generational. And those brothers are making money. And they're probably making all of it for the most part, as long as they don't have elaborate lighting and backup dancers and a full band. If all they
Right.
have is a DJ, then
Yep.
they're making money. So
Yeah,
good for them.
exactly. Yeah. And so, you know, I think it's when you say, you know, could it be hip hop? I think if it's hip hop, it's modern day hip hop. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So let's talk a little bit about travel. This one's for y'all. So the FAA has warned airlines to exercise caution when flying over Mexico, Central America, and parts of South Africa. Now, this comes, this is important to know because for everybody that's traveling, you know, oh, there we go. There's the travel ban. And so what, first of all, Stacy, what does this mean? Right? Like, does this mean if your plane gets shot out the air, we warned you? Does this mean,
so
yeah, what does this mean?
so yeah, you know, that's part of it for sure, Niele. That's part of it for sure. Because that's what's happening, right? We
Right.
heard the story that they dressed up, I think it was an American Airlines plane. It was a U.S. Military plane that dressed it up as an American Airlines plane to attack a boat out there in the Caribbean last week. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't hear that one.
Yes. And so, yeah, so you're right. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, so if you're traveling or have any plan, and I mean, this affects your Caribbean travel because, like, I have a ticket to go to St. Lucia the 1st of February. Well, I'm going to cancel it because St. Lucia as well as Grenada sit right next. It's the first Caribbean island. Those are the first Caribbean islands next to Venezuela. That's South America. And so
Exactly.
depending on the route that your plane takes, you could cross over to get, you just never know. So it's not safe to even take that one vacation that we was looking forward to. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
This is the times Prince said, sign of the times. This is the sign of the times.
Okay. Now, this story came out of one of our Black Press newspapers, the New York Amsterdam. 7 Caribbean islands, including Grenada, Antigua, St. Kitts, and St. Lucia, and a few others, all announced that they had either signed a memo of understanding with the Trump administration or they're in talks with the administration to advance a stage to accept people being deported. Now, this is for alleged nonviolent crimes such as visa overstays or of those denied asylum, as well as those being rejected by their native countries. Now, in addition to accepting the deportees, Washington has also been pressuring some of these countries to allow the U.S. military to set up military radars and other facilities on their home soil, with some like Grenada, which the U.S. had invaded, if you recall, in 1983, saying they are uncomfortable with such requests. And last, starting this week, January 21st, Caribbean citizens, some of them must fork out travel bonds of between $5,000 to $15,000 to even apply for a U.S. travel visa. And if it's denied, the money is refundable. So this is just an insight of what that administration is doing and how they're bullying the Caribbean, how they're setting up military camps. They're warning airlines not to fly over. Something is brewing in that White House.
Oh yeah, without question. Without question. It always is. It always is. There was a report that came out of the Pentagon that the other night there was members of Congress who actually persuaded MAGA members, of course, persuaded Trump not to invade Iran the other night, just the other night. He was apparently going to invade Iran. I think it was Friday night. They had it planned like they did with Venezuela. And he was talked out of it. I know the Congress has voted to curtail some of that, but he's not gonna. He's not going to abide. If he feels like doing it, he's going to do it. And Congress, as long as it's MAGA controlled, no matter how much they object, if they object, they're going to fall back in line. He knows that. He knows that.
Right. Dr. Marilyn says, yes, my aunt bought 3 tickets for a world cruise and had to cancel because it goes to the Middle East. Luckily, she got her money back. And Nancy Wall says, if you notice, everything with this administration is transactional money.
Yep. And I wouldn't trust that money is refundable. By the way, that $5,000 to $15,000 to apply for a U.S. travel visa. I wouldn't trust that it's refundable if you get rejected.
100%, Stacy.
Can't trust it.
Can't trust it. And in good news, as we talk about and remember Dr. King, and we remember civil rights. I think that my story, this was important because after advocacy from the NAACP and its partners, the Department of Education is pausing wage garnishments from borrowers with defaulted student loan debt. Now, it's unclear how long, but that is another win in a lot of that work. We talked about Wisdom, who is over the youth at the NAACP on a national level. He was the one that pushed Joe Biden and that Biden administration to erase student debt. And you can see that he's still on the front line, and the NAACP is as well, because I'm affected by that. So I'm very grateful of the work of the NAACP right now.
Listen, just don't get your student loan debt transferred to RNG. Don't let them sell your student loan to him. The interest rate, I understand, is just through the roof.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely through the roof. Yeah.
That's a good business to be in.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a student loan through that guy. His son he will outlive his son by about 30 years unless his son pays him back that student loan debt. I'm telling you right now, that guy is diabolical like that.
And this is the story we talked about on Friday, and just from Friday to now, things do change. So after backlash, Ludacris has backed out of performing at the Rock the Country Fest, and it's a pro-American event named its nickname is MAGA Music Fest. And so it was discovered. I don't think they wanted it so public. It was discovered that Niele and Ludacris were performing at this, and everybody went crazy. And by Friday or Saturday, Ludacris had dropped
out. Well, first, let me get this out the way. First, RNG says his interest rates are 75% plus interest, by the way, plus whatever. Just so you'll know how tough that guy is. But going back to this thing with Ludacris, he dropped out. I guess you can say that it's a good thing. Why'd you drop in the first place is the question. That's the real question. What would compel you other than the bank account? Other than the bank account. And listen, try not to be in nobody's pocket. I don't know Ludacris's financial situation. I hope he's okay. With all the stuff that he's done, I hope that he's experiencing the fruits of his labor. But what would possess you to do this? I mean, Niele, we know who he is now, right? We know that. And it's unfortunate. But what would possess someone who has benefited so much? Niele too has benefited he's benefited from the culture. Why would you do that? And yeah, it might be completely ludicrous.
I think too, a lot of times we talked about it earlier, the devil is in the detail in the contracts. So Shaka Zulu, a very prominent manager out of Atlanta, he's the one that said that, it was a mistake. We're not performing. So a lot of times, you know, the name of the concert is Rock the Country. So somebody reaches out, oh, there's this festival, Rock the Country, you know, maybe they didn't tell them it was MAGAFest, right? Maybe they did. But a lot of times that happens, and then it's like, whoa, and then you pull out. So it could have been that just like she didn't read the contract, neither did Shaka Zulu.
Listen, here's the thing. You know what? I'm going to leave it what you just said. Maybe it was presented as something that it wasn't.
You know, or it was just presented because the nickname is MAGAFest. So all the clan know what the deal is. But if you just like Jay-Z did the Made in America. Remember the Made in America festival that happened in Philly every Labor Day weekend. So Made in America, you know, that's white and traditional, but it's from Jay-Z. So you have this festival called Rock the Country. Like I say, maybe Shaka didn't do his due diligence. Maybe the price check, like you said, was fat and big. Let's do it. They only want a 45-minute set. They're giving you this amount of money, but you don't realize that it's the MAGAFest and all the clan will be there.
So don't they an artist, and I believe many, I don't know if they all do, but one of the first questions becomes, well, who else is performing?
Niele.
When you hear, what I'm saying is, isn't that a question that if I go to Ludacris or Shock or whoever, and I say, you know, I want you to be on this, you know, be a part of this music festival, isn't one of the questions, I know the first question is money, but I know a follow-up or at least one of the earlier questions is who else is performing? And when you hear the names, Kid Rock, when you hear Jason Aldean, is it Jason Aldean or whoever, when you hear certain names, especially today, you go, you got to take a look. Who else? And then you don't need to be called MAGAFest, right? When you start hearing certain names, the first red flag is, and the biggest, is Kid Rock.
Well, they don't have to tell you the total lineup. We're still confirming guests. This happens. We have Niele. They can give him 3 names off that list that are neutral. Paint the picture as a way of bringing, you know, this is an America concert, and then say we'll be adding to it. Okay, that's all I need to know. I'm good. Half the time at these festivals, everybody don't know who's on the lineup. I'm not defending Ludacris. I'm just saying sometimes these things happen. Coachella, you don't know the whole lineup on Coachella. You just really concerned about your set time and who are the
big names. Coachella, right? This is something new.
No, I'm just giving an example of like,
I know. And a Ludacris, someone of his stature is going, from my experience, someone of his stature is going to want to know who is on the bill, because they want to know where they fit in.
Well, yeah, I think that's a legitimate point that you're making there, Stacy. Now, I don't want to call Shaka out like that, but I think there's a lot of events happening, right, that go under the radar, and you know, people probably think, well, let me get this bag, people will get over it, right? You know what I mean? I mean, that's possible too. We don't know what Ludacris's financial situation is. But listen, who don't want to collect a few coins for some easy work, right? I'm just saying, you know. And then here's another question that I'd like to ask the audience, because last week Jay said, "How much is the check?" Right?
Oh yeah,
you know, and listen. That's legitimate right now. That's a legitimate question to ask. And if your job is to perform for a living, and especially when you're not like, you know, somebody like Dave Chappelle, right? And they offering good money. I mean, listen, I get it. I agree. Like, you know,
Destiny said
but
all money ain't good money.
I
Michelle Madison said Ludacris and
I
Nelly,
agree.
please explain.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm 100%. I'm that way. But all I'm saying is that we're going to be very disappointed by a lot of the artists that we love.
Oh yeah.
And know.
Oh yeah.
Because they are dancing and singing for a living. They are performing for a living. And if it's somebody like I said, I don't know how Ludacris is making his money now or anything like that, or if he's still, how much money he's making off of his old projects even. But he's, you know, we're old enough to know who he is. But my little nephew,
who are we talking about?
Talking about Ludacris now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's his the other dude? What's his name again? Nelly is only really come back into the public space of relevance because of his relationship with his wife and their whole, and I'm,
But I think the difference between Ludacris and Nelly is Ludacris is making multi-million-dollar pictures like Fast and Furious franchise. So I think that
I agree.
And he lives in Atlanta. It's not like he's living in an expensive city. So
Atlanta's
I mean, I'm just saying he's making multi-million-dollar movies. Him and Nelly, I see.
When was the last movie he did?
You could live off a movie for a long time, Greer.
You can if you live in modestly. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I don't know what his pockets look like. I'm not justifying his decision to do that. I'm simply saying that, something that Lizzo said, if you pull back the curtain, you're going to see a lot of performers and entertainers that you're going to be disappointed by because they're going to take that money. You know what I mean? And then the question for us is, I'm talking about now, not just as consumers, but people who love our culture and who love these artists, are we going to, like we brought up, I'm sure Jay don't really care because he got his following, he got who he got, right? And he's made so much money at this point that, he's in a category all by himself. The same thing with Beyonce. She was at that event supporting her husband, right? But the pictures came out and it ain't slowing people down. And so I think that what ends up becoming is this thing becomes something very normal, right? I think it's something that people are going to just expect. And,
the good thing about it is Ludacris, he pulled out. Nelly didn't pull out, neither did Snoop.
Right.
So it could have been a mishap because
Snoop is doing it too?
No, when he did the crypto, crypto
I
ball
he's doing
Trump.
it. I was like, yeah, right.
But don't
listen, that made my point. Now that's what I'm saying. If Snoop is doing it, then Snoop was, then that's all. Snoop has told us all that we need to know.
Right.
Really
So then it could have been a mishap for Ludacris because he pulled out. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, well, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I didn't read the contract. Okay, read.
Yeah, well, Shaka might have been trying to get the coin, and Ludacris wasn't even aware of it. He saw like his name. Right. He was like, yo, my G.
It could simply be that Ludacris heard the backlash and said, you know what, I do got enough money. I don't need this type of backlash. I can make money.
No, I'm talking about when you say how could they even accepted it. Shaka negotiated the deal. Shaka knew. Come on. I mean, I don't mean to say that. And listen, I pray. But I'm just saying, Shaka, but dude, you knew what it was. Because like Stacy said, nobody doesn't take a gig and say, well, who else is on the bill?
Right.
Everybody. That's a standard question.
Right. And slimy promoters sometime will misconstrue, just like they say your deposit's in the mail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's why people want their money when they get there. Yeah. So a lot of times, come on, we're talking about the Klan. We're talking about Mac. So
wire me my money.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? And to Greer's point, Shaka could say, hey, I got this money on the table. It's this concert, because managers too have a lot
They gotta
of
get
influence, and
right.
they can
And
tell
they
that if there's trust, right? If there's trust,
Mhm.
if I tell you, hey, we got this concert coming up with Niele, okay, and that's all I need to know because there's a level of
that's
trust with me
true.
and my manager.
Right, me and my manager. That's my man. We've been doing this for from the beginning, and you got to remember, Nelly eating on that money
Right.
that he made. Not Shaka. Shaka need them checks to keep coming in.
No,
So
by the way, Mike V. Greer says that Ludacris's last feature was in the State Farm commercial. Like a good neighbor, MAGA is there. And Dr. Marilyn says we have short-term outrage like Snoop. She says, I think he might have been forgiven for the inauguration. She says, I'm not sure, but personally, I'm still salty.
nah.
Yeah, let's think. Yeah, because think about the number of artists that we have loved that were able to get some kind of a career back, or didn't really, you know what I mean? I mean, Chrisette Michelle,
he said to the
Gloria Gaynor. I will survive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Ain't nobody think about Gloria but Donald Trump.
But what I'm saying is, right.
Well, she would fit at a MAGA. She would definitely fit at the show.
Right. So obviously, desperate for attention, perhaps desperate for money, because nobody even, like you said, who thought of Gloria Gaynor? Who cares?
But you know what?
Except when that song come on, except when you play I Will Survive. Okay, it's a totally different story.
Right. But and two, we have to remember that some of our folk are surrounded by Black MAGA or people who are just not engaged, period. So they're not as in tune with the, they a lot of the MAGAs that I am familiar with, like at the barbershop dudes be saying crazy stuff. We know, I know they ain't doing nothing but drinking on Friday. That's it. That's the extent of their in public. Okay, that is the extent.
The barbershop I go to, they drink at my barbershop. So
right, listen, drink and smoke weed, all of the things. And but they all, like, they were trying to argue me down that this woman, that Renee Good, was running over this officer, because they listening to Fox News and other platforms in there, and then listening to that's it. They get that one story and then that's it. And it's a lot of brothers who sadly are doubling down. But I think it's also interesting that like Micah said, we've all joked about that all of Donald Trump's favorite songs for these anti-gay people are all these disco gay, anthems.
Right. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive.
Gloria Gaynor. I mean, right. And the village people, come on.
It's
very odd.
And yet, right. And yet they want to eliminate gay and lesbian folks. And yet they like she said, their anthem is full of some really great anthems for the LGBTQ community.
Right. And they right up in Malargo every weekend. Okay.
Every weekend.
And so as we wrap up, just want to remind you guys that today, I don't know if you guys know, but our Black newspaper, the Los Angeles Sentinel, has taken over the Martin Luther King parade here. And so it kicks off at 11. If you want to watch it, it's at KABC. Couple highlights. This is where you can see Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She struts the entire parade all the way down King Boulevard, down Crenshaw, in her stilettos. And how old is Maxine Waters? She just struts the whole way. And of course, you can see Mayor Karen Bass. But it's just a day of culture. And just like Taste of Soul, the Bakewell Media and the LA Sentinel now is responsible for the King Day Parade, the oldest and longest running Kingdom Day Parade in this country.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You have to have a good business plan in place, and Danny Bakewell never misses.
Yeah. So you can watch it on online live at abc7.com, or it's the Los Angeles ABC affiliate.
Yeah, there you have it. Staying along the lines of what I want people to tell me, and maybe you could tell me too. Chris Brown, where does he stand talent wise? And I'm talking about, and I'll say this because of what Jill Scott said initially. What Jill Scott said, talent wise, where does Chris Brown stand when you're thinking about the giants in the music industry? And I'm talking about Prince and Michael and the giants of the industry. Where does Chris Brown stand? Because Jill Scott initially said that Chris Brown is her king of pop. Now she's come back and said, no, let me clarify that Prince is my king of pop. But I wanted to leave it at Chris Brown. Where does he stand, Niele?
Chris Brown is the king of pop in this genre and generation for sure.
Okay.
100%. I mean, I mean, if you want to compare a Prince concert or a Michael Jackson concert, this last tour he did last year definitely is reflective of those numbers of being the king of pop. I mean, he dances, he sings at the same time. And he never misses when he drops a project. And I don't think, besides, first it was Usher, and then Chris came, and I don't think there's anybody in the R&B genre that is on Chris Brown's level today. I can't think of anybody. Chat, you can chime in.
Yeah, and Mike V is chiming in. He says, can people separate Chris Brown from the domestic violence with Rihanna? And that's always been a huge problem for Chris Brown. He's never been able to overcome that. There's no excuse for domestic violence. However, I will say these were children, number one, pretty much children at the time. I think Chris Brown may have been 20 years old at the time. It's not excusing it. But here's the other part of that. Him and Rihanna got back together a couple of times afterwards. She forgave him. She has not ever, to my knowledge, stated anything bad about Chris Brown in the media, on any red carpet or anywhere. She's living a great life. Apparently, her and ASAP seem like the quintessential couple. They seem really to be into each other. That they're, so she's bettered herself in that sense. And Chris has gone on, maybe relationship wise, he doesn't pass the test, but he, everything I hear, I have not seen Chris in concert. I know my wife and daughter, they saw Chris, but I remember even Michael anointing him as the next king of pop when Michael was alive.
Well, Chris Brown has a redemption story to that point. So have people really gotten over it? Yeah, I mean he's won a Grammy, he's won BET awards. You know what I'm saying? People have moved past that. I do believe because he's still able to make music at a high frequency. Like, the top concerts last year was Beyonce, Kendrick, and SZA, and Chris Brown. Those were the concerts that, and I'm talking about arenas,
right?
Not basketball, but football arena stadiums. He was selling out back to back. And those were the top three. So I definitely think that Chris Brown he's had a redemption song. A redemption story.
And Dr. Nicole says y'all throw the term king of pop around way too lightly, Dr. Listen, I agree with you on that, Dr. Nicole. Dr. Marilyn says Chris is talented. He is an actor too. He just needs to stay out of trouble. He got arrested this summer in England. Dr. Marilyn says, I love Chris Brown. He is a super transparent. He is super transparent as well. She says she's watched a few interviews too. And yes, Jill Scott did. Yeah, she did change it or clarify it, however she put it, and say that Prince is her king of pop. But
some people's king of pop is Michael Jackson.
As much as I love Prince, I would agree that because Chris and Michael were more R&B, that type of pop. Prince.
Wait, Bobby Brown is the king of R&B. Whitney Houston said it, and that is what it. Whitney said Bobby Brown is the king of R&B, and that's just what it's going to be. That's it.
Yeah. Well, Whitney.
Whitney said. No,
Whitney
but I
said
mean,
it.
I think Chris Brown is that guy. I mean, people are still waiting. Remember, he was supposed to do a tribute to Michael Jackson for the BET Awards,
Well, that goes
and
back. Yeah.
because of the whole domestic violence thing, he was supposed to do it with Sierra, and they canceled it. People are
Mhm.
still, and then Sierra and Chris Brown released different snippets from the rehearsals. People are still waiting and calling for BET to do that tribute, because if we talk about passing the baton, what other artists can you see celebrating Michael Jackson besides Chris Brown?
Somebody made the point, and my thing is stuck, so I can't really go. Oh, here we go. Somebody's making the point. I think it was Dr. Nicole who said something about that. She says, as the other two, and MJ was still the best. But beside that, she says, "Oh, Chris is a very good artist. I've been to his concert as well as the other two, and MJ was still the best. But besides that, even Chris says to stop." That's the point. And Chris Brown did say that. Stop comparing him to Michael Jackson because that's his idol. And not many people should want to be compared to Michael Jackson because you just can't
That's
win.
an honor. That's an honor. That's an honor. And I
Yeah,
think
it is.
yeah.
But I get when artists like a Chris Brown will say and has said, "Don't compare me to Michael," because that's a lot to live up to.
I mean,
Let me
Beyonce
do
gets
my thing.
compared to Michael too. Beyonce is another one that'll get compared to Michael Jackson.
Oh,
But
I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good
no,
thing.
no,
I'm
but I'm
saying I
saying like
understand when
not many artists get that comparison. I can only really think of Usher, Beyonce, and Chris Brown that at the top of the list that gets compared to the most to Michael Jackson. I think it would be those three. And I think rightfully so, because they have that it factor. Now
Mhm.
I haven't seen nobody falling out, crying, and passing out and hyperventilating because of those artists on stage like we did with Michael Jackson. That was just something I've never seen ever again. The way that people was crying and passing out, and maybe some tears at a Beyonce or a Chris Brown concert, but not passing out. But I think they're close to it in this day and time for this
No,
generation.
I'm gonna say this, and I know it's gonna upset some folks, but you say you don't see that. I think Michael emphasized that. He made sure that his camera people caught that. I think other artists, they don't show that. I think it happens. I've seen, and I say that because I was watching a Rolling Stones concert and I saw a lot of the same thing. You had 100,000 people in the stadium, literally
What
100,000
was the
people.
year? What was the year?
This was not long ago. This was probably 2 years ago, and you had even the passing out, the crying, and stuff like that, the being carried out. I think Michael really wanted you to see that. He wanted the world to see this is what they think of me. And I'm not saying that they didn't think that way of him, because they certainly did, and that did happen. I just think that it does happen, and I think that it may not happen, like with a lot of artists, but it does happen with some other artists as well. They just don't focus on it, is what I'm saying.
Dr. Marilyn said Whitney was high as a kite when she said that. LOL, R.I.P. Whitney. Orange G said, I agree. Bobby Brown is the king of R&B. I still do Bobby Brown dances at every event I attend. Nicole McDaniel says, in terms of overall career, I think Usher still surpasses Chris. IMO. And then Big Cheese says Chris Brown is business savvy. Dr. Marilyn says they aren't passing out now because they are too busy on their phones. Great point, Dr. Marilyn. Great point.
Oh my God! And okay, RNG sent a message. Bobby has hits and dance moves for decades, and asked Keith Sweat. He tried to battle Bobby drawing verses and took the L.
Oh, they did. I don't remember that verse.
I don't remember that either. But Keith Sweat need to go to that.
Okay, so while we jump into our Black Facts, here's the question. We're going to take it back to our generation. Okay. Who is the GOAT? We'll say GOAT because King of Pop is debatable. Who is the GOAT of the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Is it Michael Jackson or is it Prince? Who's the GOAT?
Oh God.
And here's the question that I have about that question.
A question on the question.
What do you know, what could qualify you as the
Yes,
GOAT,
good
right?
question.
Because you said you that's 3 decades. That's a hard thing to do. If we're talking about 3 decades, Michael Jackson is the GOAT of all time because he is no longer with us, and he is still the fans are still being born.
But that's the same. So that's not the same for Prince?
No.
Not like Michael. No. I'm
Michael.
huge Prince
There
fan, but I
isn't
can't,
I cannot think of a personality on the planet that has that sort of had that sort of impact where his fans are still being born.
Okay, so your vote is Michael Jackson. Okay, so your vote is Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Based on that,
Destiny Forever says they both are. And Mike V says Morris Day. Prince wrote the songs. Prince wrote the songs.
He made the music, but the impact on people across the globe, Prince didn't have that impact the way Michael did. And the only person today, of course, who comes close, and some may argue lives up to that, is Beyonce. Michael was probably the most recognizable, no pun intended, person on the planet. He was probably the most famous person on the planet when he was alive. And back in, you mentioned the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, I think it was only 2 people that was in one class and above everybody else. And that was Michael Jackson and Muhammad Ali, as far as being recognizable, no matter where you went in the world, no matter what crack in the earth you found, they knew Michael Jackson and Muhammad Ali.
Michelle Madison says Michael Jackson, Prince. Interestingly, Prince has more social media likes. For real.
Really? I find that hard to believe, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it says. And then Charles Sims says my 12-year-old grandson is a Michael Jackson fan.
And Randy's son, who is 7, is a Michael Jackson fan. That's what I'm saying. This will be born. The only person, and I agree with Stacy on this, and the only person that I see living outside of like a Muhammad Ali, somebody like that, a sports figure, that has that same impact is Beyonce. She is the only one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Really.
They can talk about Taylor Swift all they want, but she will never be Beyonce.
Right. Because listen, just think about it too. Like Beyonce, you have little kids, little girls knowing who she is because their mothers were fans. They dressing them up. They're dressing her up. I intentionally now have my daughter. I played when she was little because she was, there was a period of time when she was in a mixed environment. Okay, it is what it is. She was one. I wanted to make sure she had a positive self-image. So she was little. I made sure I played Beyonce, Alicia Keys, I only, because she's watching Miley's whatever her name was, white girl.
Miley Cyrus.
Okay. Yeah, remember she had the show and all of that?
Yeah.
And you on those shows, Nickelodeon, after Raven was off the air, it was hard pressed to see, you know what I mean? And even her and all of the Black shows, it was very poppy, kind of, just no shade. It's too white for me. It was too white, but I couldn't do nothing about it, right? This is what was on. I limited their television, but she listened. I played. I was intentional about the music, even when she was little, because I wanted her to have a Black, to be, to love Black women, right? To look up to Black women. And so that's why Beyonce will have the same level of GOAT that Michael Jackson, because mothers did that to their kids, their daughters. I know I was the only one.
Yeah.
You're the only one.
No, she wasn't. Michelle Madison says that that she just looked up both their names, and she says, Stacy, I was
Yeah.
surprised as well.
But you know
But
what? But
yeah.
Niele, Dr. Marilyn wrote something I think is extreme. It's interesting. She says, "How many girls are named Beyonce?" I've never heard of that name before.
She's actually named after her grandfather. That was actually
Oh,
her mother's last name, but I think it was B-I-Y, or no, B-E-Y-I-N-C-E. So that's really her mother's last name. And then her mother named it and changed it to Beyonce. So that's where the name comes from. But I haven't heard too many mothers naming their child Beyonce. I haven't, but that's where she got her name from. She got it from, her mother's side of the family.
RG says Prince is still the only man who dressed like he did and could take your woman. He said, "Thank goodness for Wesley Snipes and Jungle Fever. He made dark-skinned black men relevant again." That's right.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, God.
That
It
is
was. I mean,
funny.
until Jungle Fever, yeah, we wasn't that popular as dark-skinned black men. We wasn't that popular.
Oh, well, it depends on who was looking. Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't start now.
I mean,
yeah, like a chocolate. She like them
I
chocolate,
mean,
baby.
some women like sweeter, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the
Oh,
juice.
God.
Blackberry
Here we go.
molasses. Blackberry molasses.
Molasses.
You haven't heard that
Oh,
song, Blackberry
yeah.
Molasses, out of Atlanta? But yeah, it depends on who was looking. But who was dark skinned in Motown?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question. Greer.
Marvin Gaye was brown.
He was rare. Marvin Gaye wasn't
Stevie
that dark.
Wonder was brown. But who was
Listen,
dark skinned?
no, wait a minute. You was a backup dancer. You was a backup dancer
Oh, that's
for the Conquerline.
Meg, what about the
What?
Temptations or the Four Tops? Were any of them dark skinned?
Yeah, they were dark brown. They were
Okay.
darker. You know what I'm
Darker.
saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they had that comp too. So
Dennis
Dennis
Edwards.
Edwards.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
All right.
considered.
What about women? Did Motown have any dark skinned women?
Well, it's definitely that's not. Gladys. No, that's not really dark, right? Huh.
The dark
Okay.
at that time, the darkest woman that was on it, she wasn't a Motown act, but was Grace Jones. Grace Jones, as far as music was concerned,
Yes.
she was remember, and they accentuated it even, back then,
Yeah.
So
gospel Mahalia Jackson was a dark skinned woman.
well, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
Diana
one of
Ross wasn't like the type of dark skin we're talking about, right? She's more like
No,
brown,
we're
right?
talking about, blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Like a Angie Stone complexion.
Yeah, right. That's a good question. Here we are doing now. We doing what was it? Was it Do the Right Thing? With like the wannabes
No.
and the,
Oh, oh no, that's School Days. You're not
that's School
the
Days. School Days.
wannabe.
Yeah. School
Wanna
Days.
be better than me.
Dr. Marilyn said blue black.
Oh,
Look at the road we done traveled. We wasn't
you
supposed to go down this road.
found them type in the juke joint.
In the juke
where
joint, she said.
the band play. That's where all the fine
the
men was
blue
in the back playing dice.
Yep. Right, because
That's
if
what
the
they
brother
were.
was blue black, he was fine. He was
Mhm.
fine. He was really fine. I mean, as wine. I knew a couple of blue
Chisel.
blacks in my
She
life.
was chiseled.
She said she knew a couple of blue blacks. This Martha Reeves.
But if we could go back to
Reeves.
that time, like
Mhm.
when we talk with Dr. King and during that time and dressing good and just having a certain dignity. I wasn't born during that time. Let me just be clear. But I got to tell, and I was born in the 70s.
Just to be clear.
But I still got a taste of that, and I saw that through my grandmother and my mother. And I just wish we could, get back to a little bit of that.
All right.
Oh, Mike V says Sinners. Sinners time. That's why that movie was good. Because all the fine men was at the juke joint. They, remember the church scene? They wasn't in the church. They was at the juke
Oh
joint.
boy. Don't we got some sports stuff?
No, we'll save those for tomorrow. Let's do
Okay.
Black Hits, Black Facts.
Let's do it. Terrible. All right. On this date in 1977, Clifford Alexander Jr. was named the Secretary of the U.S. Army. He became the first African American person to hold that title back on this date in 1977.
Okay, and today we remember John H. Johnson, who was born today in 1918. And if you want to know who that is the publisher and founder of Ebony and Jack magazine. And of course, he was instrumental in Hollywood history. His publication provided outlets at a time when mainstream media ignored Black stories and Black Hollywood. So, like all the people we're talking about today, you know, if this was back in the day, it would be Jet and as well as Ebony that provided those stories for us. And remember, in the back of Jet, you can always find like the top songs in the albums and in the TV shows, and you looked for that. And of course, the beauty of the week. But those were like staples that you look forward to before you would look anyplace else to see what was going on in our Black culture.
Right. Wow. Wow. Pretty cool Black history facts. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
So today, have a happy King Day. Tomorrow, Stacy, I have some stories coming out of New Orleans. I'm sure Orange G will enjoy that. It's Mardi Gras and mayhem with the mayor, cars on fire. So we're going to take a deep dive into what's happening, the good, the bad, and the Mardi Gras of New Orleans tomorrow.
Okay. And by the way, Dr. Marilyn says it's her holiday tomorrow. She's accepting all hugs and warm wishes tomorrow. So there you have it.
We'll keep that in mind, you know, and for the latest in Black news, visit BlackPressUSA.com.
Have a good one, everybody.